What now?
There's no It won't be tomorrow. I even have this scheduled for Tyler Green's birthday. You're funny. You're funny. Which is what, next year, right? No, I did fast. No. April 26th.
Alright. So, we start off with silliness. We start off with silliness. Elijah, show us how it's done. You got that done perfectly.
That is you.
Just like that.
Oh, I did it. What's he doing? I don't do it.
Exactly.
That was a wild. That's so debatable.
Wait, what we do after the ice?
I mean, like, Ricardo, yeah, no problem whatsoever. But, like, hey, gentlemen, we are pretty much nearing the midterm of the semester.
Round two. Round two.
Yeah, not like this fake ass shit when I give you a midterm. Like, because I tried to use the word tri-term, and then people are like, oh, tri-term. So then I used two midterms. So anyway, we kind of are nearing the halfway point. I have heard from, you know, at least those who are smart enough to realize that they've dug a hole for themselves and need to get out of it. People in the past week, and some of their parents. Not yours. But, you want me to? Alright. I have been pretty consistent in my messaging to you guys all semester. A, about what you have to do for this work. Okay? For this class, like how much work it takes, what you need to do, all the other stuff. And I'll tell you the same things that I told the other classes. All of this grade shit, it's a shell game. Okay? This is how the game works if you guys haven't figured it out yet. There are how many 15, 16-year-olds in America?
A lot.
A lot.
We'll make up a random number.
Maybe like a
Calm life.
You know, like if you think about it, right, the US population is like 380 million. To sit there, we can expand it out a little bit, but to sit there and say there's probably what, 5 to 7 million 15 to 16-year-olds? Probably about right. What's that?
Something like that.
Yeah, okay. So here's the shell game, guys. Grades, they're not so that you become smart. They're not for academic pursuit. They're a means so that the people above you can sort you all out and figure out which ones they want to hire and not hire. That's the game. So you get good grades, you get good SAT scores, you got some extra, decent extracurriculars. Guess what? You get into a better college. You get into a better college, you get good grades, you got good test scores, you got good extracurriculars, you get into a good post-grad program, or you get a better job. All you're doing each step of the way is you're increasing the probability that you get into something that's just a little bit more prestigious, a little bit more recognizable. Okay? Now, each step of the way. If you fuck up along the way, and it happens, we all do, okay? There is nothing that prevents you from making up for it. But every step that you drop down, every rung on that ladder that you're lower, it's that much harder. Okay? So here's the deal. You graduate here with a 4.0 and a 1600 SAT, and you go to Harvard. You graduate Harvard with, summa cum laude and all these other extra stuff, and then you get hired by someone like KKR or Goldman Sachs, and at 21 years old, you're making 150 grand a year. That doesn't include your year-end bonus. Okay? By the time you're 25, you're now making $1 million a year. By the time you're 30, that number keeps going up. Now, compare that to the other person who didn't do those things and decided to keep digging holes for themselves. They graduate college and they're making $40,000 a year. Do you think that person who makes 40 will ever catch the person who made 150 their first year out?
No.
And I don't mean total, I mean get to 150. Okay? So, no, I mean ever. They might not ever. right? What's the average income, what's the average salary across the US?
It's like
Probably 80.
80, I think.
Yeah, it's probably 80, 90,000. So you hit the average, you're gonna make 80, 90 at your peak. That one guy is gonna make more in his first year than you'll ever see. Okay? And so, this is how the game works. It's a sorting hat, each step of the way. And you guys can choose what you wanna do about it. Now, don't get me wrong, you got the ability to correct things if you make mistakes. But every step from here on out in high school begins to matter. It matters. And you guys sit here and you wanna play these fucking games like, I don't care about my grades, I'm happy with the C, whatever else it is. It matters. So if you don't wanna care about it, just make sure that after you graduate, you leave me your number and tell me what Starbucks you're working at so I can come and place my order. Cause I'll come, I'll dab it up with you, I'll see how shit's going, I'll even buy you a coffee. But that's what you'll be doing. You'll be making it. And you get my order wrong, then you got issues. Okay? So, I'm being a little sarcastic here, but think about it. It does matter. Okay? There is nothing, I've looked at every single one of your various assignments and grades. I've looked at many of your grades across your different classes. There's not a single person here that doesn't have the ability to succeed. 9.9 times out of 10, it comes back to effort. It comes back to showing up every day. It comes back to handing in each of your homework assignments. That's what it comes to. You don't do that basic stuff, don't be surprised at what happens next. There are so many people in this world who don't show up or don't do the work when they're asked, that if you do, you're always guaranteed a job. Okay? And if you can go that step further and show that you're hungry and you're interested and you want to learn and do other stuff, well, there's even fewer people out there. Part of what Benedict's does, and part of the reason we do things like the overnight and the trail, is to show you that no matter how hard something actually is, if you're willing to show up and put in the effort, you can make it through it. And the reason is because a lot of people in this world don't know that. Just the reality of it. So, again, we're at the halfway point. Many of you like to dig holes for yourself at the beginning of semesters, and then have to sit there and stress for the second half of the semester about how to get out of it. Some of you will sit there and say, I'm alright, I got a C or I got a D, I'm passing. Doesn't matter. Like, if you're not getting the B, what's the point? And there's not a single person in here who couldn't get a B if they wanted to. Okay? 99% of it is showing up and doing the work and trying. There is 1% of you who, have other challenges. You might have a learning issue, you might have a language issue, you might have something else. But there's ways around those things too. Every single one of them. And I said this to you guys like right in the beginning too. If you know that you have a learning issue, then let's talk about it, because there are easy things you can do. If you think you might have one, you will never ever have the opportunity in your life again to be able to figure it out for free. Like the fact that we have the counseling center here is huge. Because you pay lots of money for this stuff once you get out of here. So if nothing else, use it because it's free research, trust me. It costs a lot of money to go see a therapist after, in the real world. But for those of you who do have learning issues, most of it can be trained away. And for that which cannot be trained away, there are life hacks out there to be able to do stuff. There are tools that you can use to help you out. And you have to learn what those are. High school is the best opportunity to figure out exactly what it is that you can do well, and what are the things that you struggle with. And for the things that you struggle with, you want to figure out how to develop life hacks so that you don't have to worry about them and they don't affect your performance academically or corporately. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So while I enjoy my coffee, gentlemen, and I'd love to see you, I'd much prefer to see it over a beer or a bottle of wine at a really nice restaurant than at Starbucks. Where you're taking me out to dinner because your bonus check this year was so big that I'm hitting you up for alumni donations. Think about it. If you want help, if you think that you're in a hole, come see me. And that could be the F student who wants to pass, the D student who wants to B, the B student who wants an A. Everybody has an opportunity to level up and do better. The majority of your grade in this class has not been determined. Maybe 15% of it has. That means like 85% of it's still out there for those of you who don't math very well. That was for your benefit. And the same is true for most of the rest of your classes as well, right? So like, you know, you overly focus on that first eval that comes out. That first eval generally doesn't say shit all, right? Because there's just not much that goes into it. But you guys didn't read the syllabus, so you don't realize that. No, I'm not looking, don't worry. Now, the other thing, and I don't know if it's in this class or not. A few of you have continued to decide that they can use ChatGPT for ISIS. It's pretty obvious. I may or may not say something, but it's pretty obvious. Okay? Cut it out. Do it again, you're going to the honor code. Clear? Good. Well, that's my public service announcement for the day. Showtime.
Who's the second?
Your 6 o'clock motivation.
Alright, so today we got Adrian, Alex, and Billy. Next week we got Rory.
Today, right?
And Louise. Okay, Adrian, you can go first.
Oh crap. Yo, who used ChatGPT? Picture
I know who used ChatGPT.
Bro, Miss G accused me last year of using ChatGPT. She's like, how did you write this so quick? You used ChatGPT.
I knew it was Ledesma.
I'm gonna send you
30.
Yeah, I might as well fall asleep.
Alright, so the one thing I'll say before you get started, and I don't know if he covers this or not, but like, do you guys remember how Ali died?
Muhammad Ali.
No, the fourth caliph in the Rashidun Caliphate. How? How? Yes. Well played. Right? And we commented last time, that was some pretty gangster ass shit. Well, you're not gonna meet more gangster ass shit than Timur Lang. He's pronounced Timur Lang. And the man actually explains why Afghanistan is the graveyard of empires. So he starts it off back here, and it continues with the Soviets and the Americans. People say, why the Americans? Did the Americans ever really lose Afghanistan? They ever win? When the Americans announced their withdrawal, how long did it take for the Taliban to completely take back over the entire country? Days. Days. Within 3 days of the Americans leading, the Taliban actually had full control of the entire country. So you tell me the Americans won. Did they lose? No. They certainly did not win. Okay? And again, probably because the Afghanis were fighting a different war than what the U.S. was fighting. Right? Because the U.S. was going after high-level terrorist groups and trying to disrupt it. The Afghanis didn't care about that. Right? Vietnam's sort of a similar analogy. The U.S. won every battle, but they lost the war. Right? The Viet Cong and the Vietnamese Communist Party had taken back over all of Vietnam almost before the U.S. had left. Like, there was no fighting, there was no provisional government afterwards. The South Vietnamese government was essentially gone, but, you know, by the time the Americans had left. So, I mean, these are examples where both sides can win and both sides lose. Are you helping? So you're just standing there looking down. Is this the whole silly thing? Can you do a little dance for us? Oh, lastly, we are not doing a book quiz today, but it is happening.
Eventually.
So tomorrow we have South and Central
South
America.
and Central America, and you got the African
I
chicken.
will remind you, lots of bonus points for anyone who can do all Waka Waka and do the dance moves for Shakira.
Daniel Ankara.
Daniel Ankara.
Dude,
Plus-
Legion's all over that shit because you know he's got the moves.
Oh yeah, Rikishi.
They don't know if Hollywood dude is it like Sollywood or what? Like in Sri Lanka, I don't know.
Batista
Batista freeze.
Shake that chest,
I was thinking about it too.
How many?
Yo, I'll do it if like more
You
than
got,
3 people do it with me.
you do it, we'll talk about it.
50 points.
Yo, who else is willing to do it?
No, it's got to be recorded. But I get sole rights to the recording.
Okay, but hold on.
You can sell rights to the
Because when you graduate, you know there'll be a slideshow on that shit in 2 years.
Wait, so will it like ever be on like iShow SBP or not?
No.
Thank God.
Why the fuck would it be?
You never know, bro.
Alright, I'll be not producing, I'll be presenting the impact of Timberlane, and I know I said it would be 30 slides, but to be honest, it's really like 15 slides, it's just that I added like backup stuff, so like you get more detail on it, but, yeah. Alright, Timberlane. Timberlane, also known as Timor, significantly shaped Central Asia's historical landscape through his conquest and his cultural, but through like his cultural presence in Central Asia.
At the bottom.
Historical background. Timur-Lenk emerged in the late 14th century as a notable conqueror. His reign marked the expansion of the Timurid Empire, which brought large parts of Central Asia and the Middle East under his control, demonstrating both military prowess and strategic genius by Timur-Lenk. Alright, early life. Born in 1336 in present-day Uzbekistan, Timur-Lenk was of Turkic descent, and his early life was marked by tribal conflicts. And he was equipped with a vision of unity, and he gradually established a reputation as a skilled leader and a warrior. And he set the stage for later conquests under his just like not his training per se, but how his like cultural upbringing was. He was just basically taught how to lead and how to like set examples. Overview of the empire. The Timurid Empire, founded by Timur-Lenk in the late 14th century, was vast, extending from the Middle East to parts of India. Known for its rich culture, it became a melting pot of artistic, scientific, and philosophical advancements, showcasing Timur-Lenk's dual legacy as a conqueror and a cultural leader. His military campaigns. Timur-Lenk's military campaigns were marked by extraordinary conquests and strategies that transformed territories across all of Asia. Timur-Lenk launched a series of campaigns in the late 14th century, extending his empire from Central Asia to around the Middle East, where like kind of where the stands are. So like Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, like all around that area. And where is he at? His conquests included Persia, India, and parts of the Ottoman Empire. So that's what that is. That's up by it's up by Turkey or Constantinople. And his impact on these regions as he like invaded them. He basically, when he like invaded these regions, he brought all the culture that he had got from Uzbekistan, kind of spread it out. So he went up and down from that's Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, and kind of followed through Persian Indian. Then these are his key battles. His notable battles include the Battle of Ankara in 1402 against the Ottoman Sultan.
Basin.
His decisive victory there temporarily halted the Ottoman expansion, showcasing Timberlane's military genius and tactical proficiency. Timberlane utilized psychological warfare and innovative tactics, such as feigned retreats and rapid cavalry movements. His army's discipline and mobility were key factors in his success, allowing Timberlane to outmaneuver larger forces, such as the Ottoman Empire at this time. His cultural impact. Timberlane's reign significantly shaped the cultural landscape of Central Asia through his fervent patronage of the arts, innovative architecture, and literary advancements. Timberlane played a crucial role in the flourishing of the arts during his empire. His support for painters, musicians, and poets fostered a rich cultural environment, making cities like Samarkand and Herat renowned cultural centers. Architectural contributions. Timberlane commissioned grand architectural projects that emphasized his greatness. Notable constructions include the Registan in Samarkand and the Shah Zinda complex, reflecting Persian, Turkish, and Islamic styles while revolutionizing architectural design in the region. The literary scene during Timberlane's era was marked by a blend of Persian and Turkish influences. His reign saw the emergence of iconic poets such as Alisher Navoiy, who infused regional narratives with rich cultural history and themes literally. These are the economic effects. Timberlane's reign significantly reshaped the economic landscape of Asia, altering trade routes, culture, and wealth distribution. I don't know why it's not here now. I had like a circle, but through all the stands, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, is basically all like everything right here, and all of down here in India. There was like not like his routes, but like the routes that he affected while he was in, I guess, power. Timberlane revitalized key trade routes across Central Asia, enhancing economic interactions between East and West. This campaign secured the expanded Silk Road, facilitating the flow of goods, culture, and ideas which enriched his empire's economy. Under Timberlane's agricultural practices involved with the introduction of advanced irrigation techniques. The focus on certain crops, such as cotton and silk, led to the increased productivity and economic stability in the regions under his control. So, in the same regions that I said before, like in not involving but integrating irrigation systems, this helped with what's that?
No.
Oh, it's on him.
I have a question.
Yeah, oh, it was him. Wealth redistribution. Timberlane implemented a wealth redistribution system that prioritized military rewards and infrastructure development. This approach not only fueled loyalty, but also stimulated local economies through the investment in public works such as roads and mosques. Timberlane's empire featured a complex social structure influenced by class, distinctions, religious beliefs, and the role of women shaping the societal fabric of his time. So he basically, in his time, he like integrated women into a lot more cultural things. So he said how he backed music, he backed art, and he backed I think it was just using art, the examples I put up. He had women like not as the forefront basically, but just had them more involved in projects. Like they weren't really pushing aside in his dream. You got a question too?
You mentioned mosques. Is he Muslim or is you mentioned that he had
He did. So I want to assume that he is because I didn't go into his religion. I'm assuming that if he was helping like build mosques and like put money towards mosques, because when it was talking about his wealth redistribution, he like made sure that mosques had more funding behind them. So I'm not sure, Mr. Fox, do you know
Which particular question?
if Timur Lane was Muslim?
Yes.
He was. I think I put it in here, but I'm not sure. The class system during Timur Lane's reign was hierarchical. Nobles, warriors, artisans, and peasants. Notability held significant power and wealth, while peasants formed the majority, often subjected to the whims of their overlords, which reinforced social stratification.
And what do we call that?
Call what?
That type of socioeconomic system.
We learned about it in like some other country. Like one religion was like related to it.
But I thought you were talking about what I said right here. Often subjected to the whims of their overlords. I got that. I thought you were talking about that. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Same idea. They're all related.
Islam played a crucial role in Timur Lane's social structure, influencing laws, education, societal norms. Timur Lane positioned himself as a defender of Islam, leading to the heightened religious fervor and significant patronage of mosque and Islamic scholarship. So, like Fox said, and like how we just said, he added a lot more money towards mosques in his time in that during his reign. I didn't read too much on his religion. I kind of just got like where he's from and like his like date of birth, stuff like that, and his like background. Cause I had too many slides, so I just put that, you know, that's his key part. But I know for a fact that in the Nat Geo article I read, it talked about how Timur Lane, when he put more money to mosques and stuff like that, he also helped. Not he helped, but he paid artisans and people to like decorate certain mosques and design them like with different colors and stuff like that. Like this is not the mosque that I saw in the thing. It's just an image that I just got from Resi. If I have time, I'll show you the mosque because it is walking by. Women in society. Women in Timur Lane society had limited roles but were influential in family and cultural traditions. While often restricted to domestic duties, women from noble families could wield considerable influence behind the scenes, particularly through marriage alliances. So they had more of like a decision in like who they would get married to and like how like the like, you know like the example where it's like I have my son will marry your daughter type of situation. They had more say in it, I guess. I'll say it like this if we put it. Timur Lane's influence persists through historical interpretations. The impact he had on his successors and the modern perception of his role in Islamic history. Scholars interpret Timur Lane's legacy through various lenses, including his brutal military campaigns and cultural patronage. He's often seen as both a ruthless conqueror and a cultural benefactor who advanced science and art in his empire. Influence on the successors. Timur Lane's empire left a significant mark of successors, such as the Mughal Empire in India, which adopted his governance and military strategies. His descendants aimed to emulate his conquests while also navigating the complex political landscape he helped shape while he was not office but like in power. Contemporary views of Timur Lane vary, reflecting his portrayal as both a national hero in Uzbekistan and a war criminal in global history. Conflicting narratives highlight his complex legacy, significantly impacting historical discourse and national identity. So, like I said before, when his conquest through Afghanistan and going down to Persia and India, like back home, he like started his entire conquest in Uzbekistan. So, I didn't read too much into this. This is just what I got off that deal, but I do remember seeing something where it was like, I do remember seeing something where it was like he not committed. I'm not sure what war crime it was. But like he wasn't looked to see outside of his, I guess, his home spot in his empire. Analyzing the impacts of Timur Lane in relation to Genghis Khan reveals significant insights regarding military strategy, governance, and cultural legacy. Timur Lane and Genghis Khan, both formidable conquerors, exhibited distinct military strategies. While Genghis Khan focused on rapid mobility and intelligence, Timur Lane emphasized brutal force and calculated sieges, leading to different outcomes in empire building. Timur Lane's invasion significantly affected nearby regions, including Persia and India. His campaigns disrupted trade, altered political hierarchies, and revitalized yet devastated local civilizations. Tamerlane's global influence. Unlike Genghis Khan, Tamerlane's influence extended into artistic and architectural realms, including the construction of the Shah-i-Zinda and the Timurid schools. His actions laid foundations affecting future empires such as the Mughal Empire. Tamerlane's legacy is a blend of military conquest, cultural flourishing, and socio-economic influence that shaped vast regions in the late medieval period. Tamerlane united much of Central Asia and the Middle East through military might. His reign saw significant cultural and architectural advancements, contributing to a rich historical legacy that endures today. Tamerlane's campaigns led to both destruction and cultural renaissance. His emphasis on art and scholarship, as well as his brutal tactics, left a lasting global legacy that influenced perceptions of leadership and conquest. And these are my resources.
Put your map back up. Put your map back up.
Of like, I know you're talking about.
Any questions?
It's over now.
Questions?
TJ?
Take it. Yes.
Alright, so like how you said, women had like a more like important role than like in other civilizations. Like, this mean like they also have like a role in military decision, like they could like go into war.
I don't exactly. The photo I put up there, that photo was from. That photo was from President Joe because what I interpreted, like what I got from that deal was that women weren't like not that they were allowed to like just go out and make decisions on their own like how they are now, but like they had some insight from like I guess their male counterparts as if like things they could do like around like they had jobs so, like they for example they. Sorry to interrupt.
I just emailed you back.
Okay.
If you can do it closer to 3:30, preferable, but if not, I'll
Okay.
whatever you need.
Yeah, so like I was saying, they had more like they had like some type of insight from their male counterparts on like, what they could do. For example, they had jobs like being artisans, but they weren't allowed to just go out of their way and just be that. They had like not like some oversight from somebody, but like they had to like consult with their I guess their male in their life to like go about what they're doing.
So if you recall, really briefly here, we started off with the Rashidun Caliphate. They're down here, correct? The Umayyads begin to expand it across here, and then all the way here, all the way up to Spain. The Abbasids continue to push into here. Right around the same time, the Mongols are coming down this way.
Oh shit.
And the Mongols eventually make it all the way over to Eastern Europe. And they do so in fairly rapid order. So it's one of the fastest land expansions ever. And one of the largest empires ever. After Genghis Khan dies, the Mongol Empire gets split up into what are called Khanates, which is like a caliphate, but for a Khan. And one of them is centered around here. See this little here? It's called Kashgar in western China. And it is referred to as the Chagatai Khan. Tamerlane is Turkic. He comes from Uzbekistan, so he was probably ethnically an Uzbek, but maybe not. He kind of works his way up through this whole Khan thing and takes over the Chagatai Khanate, based out of Kashgar. He then later on expands it. What is particularly significant about Tamerlane is that because he sat at the crossroads here of the Silk Road, everybody came for him, one way or another. And he pretty much defeated all of them, including the other Khans, the other Khanates, alright? So, and including like the Abbasids and everyone else. He was just one mean ass motherfucker. He actually constructed pyramids at his goals.
That's light.
I mean, there are pyramids in Uzbekistan that they have like archaeological evidence for that were made out of like 40,000 human skulls. Right? It is estimated that he potentially killed up to 17 million people.
Wait,
And we're not talking bombs, right? We're talking swords.
so wait, like,
17 million.
Yeah.
so how long did it take? How old?
I believe he died in his 50s.
It was around his 50s, I think, when they said he died. I'm not sure when he died.
17 million bodies.
Yeah, like, I mean, we're, at the time, we're actually talking like a percent of the world's population.
I think he was.
Oh, okay. I was
He
gonna say,
himself
like,
individually or his
When
army?
you say like what?
Like 17 million individually people we killed.
like,
Well, I think about that just logistically, how much do we have to cut every day?
that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's not.
That's not possible.
Nigga, you're killing like 5 people
A second.
a minimum. A second.
I don't know.
What's the volume of
That's what she was like.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, now, Genghis Khan arguably killed more, and we'll meet a few other people that killed that many people, but, we'll change. That's pretty high. Some even argue that some of his tactics not only killed off the entire intelligentsia, like at one point when he was in, Georgia, they think he may have actually killed the entire country.
Georgia?
What?
Yeah, like pretty much. In addition, some of his policies were highly destructive. So, the Central Asia has a very fragile ecosystem, right? And so, while they do have water, they had built a series of aquifers, so kind of like canals that allowed people to access the water. He ended up destroying a lot of them because, like, if he didn't like your town because you didn't accept him, he would just destroy all the crops and everything else. So some have argued that the longer term downfall of Central Asia today is still potentially caused by him. Okay?
So he was
So-
just.
So we'll talk about more about him later on when we get into the Khanates, but he was a pretty badass mofo.
So basically, like a long time whining.
A long time what?
Whines.
Anyways, so it's a name that doesn't come up all the time in history, but one that has significant impact. And you need to know, and we will talk more about it as we go through this. So, kind of one of these disruptors. With Genghis Khan. They're both disruptors. They completely upend the social order. Right, Todd?
That's not why we were. That's not why we were.
That's why I mean, I try to get like this. I did this project back in January. I haven't looked at it in a while.
Sure.
Yeah, 'cause there's some things that I noticed that aren't really great on the movie, but I compared the two because, like, in my eyes, they were very similar. And when I think of the impact of Team Lane, I also kind of like think to myself, who does he remind me of? He reminds me a lot of Genghis Khan at the time. Because when I did see his numbers, he was putting up like Will Chamberlain and Titan. I never put the game type stats, so I was like,
That's not talking about. That's not the ball knowledge we're talking about. Different type of ball knowledge.
Oh, different type of ball knowledge.
Alright, Tim.
Elijah
Booker
Scott.
scored 1,700.
Hey, gentlemen, everyone attention, please. I think it needs a keyboard.
Originally, it was Persian, but now it's Afghanistan. The name Rumi means beautiful, flow, strength, or let us live. Understanding would be forced to move out of Afghanistan. And was very quick. Rumi means Shams. Around the age of 40, Rumi would be a vagrant man with God. He was a teacher of religion and really would learn much from him. Eventually, Shams would disappear, possibly because of Shams being killed by Rumi's family without. I believe that without Shams, Rumi Shamsi Tabriz, or the collected poems of Shams, are based on what he learns from Shams. Rumi also writes this to make sure that Shams's his memory does not die. And it covers longing. The Nawi, or spiritual couplets, is poetry that amounts to 50,000 lines about Sufism and how people can love God. Some Muslims believe that is the most important literature following the Quran. The whirling dervishes. After the death of Rumi, his son founded the Mevlana order. Mevlana is the name Rumi is given in Turkey, the place where he had died. The Mevlana order would dance in memory of Rumi during the Sheb-i-Aras, or Night of Youth. In this dance, there are many symbolisms such as black cloaks being tombs. Rumi's impact. With Rumi's universal appeal, he was able to bring people of many cultures together. It has transcended many barriers of the world. His written themes of heartbreak have been tied to the songs of the blues. Singers like Madonna, and Coldplay have stated that they have been inspired by his poetry. Jay-Z and Beyonce have named their youngest Rumi. Overall, Rumi has helped to advance the idea of the self. Basically, when he would talk about religion, he talked about how he would burn churches to make people realize that religion isn't found inside of churches, but inside the self.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pause you there, so that's a great point. You can just slide up, okay? So briefly, let's understand the impact that Rumi has. One, he is probably the most prolific poet of all time ever. He's written more poetry, and it is still widely quoted today. I think I've told you guys this before, but if I did, if you go in and buy like one of those Hallmark cards and they got like a piece of poetry on it, you got a decent shot at it's Rumi. Right? Like a lot of his stuff is still actually used today. Rumi took this idea of the self and brought it back to worship. And in some regards, it comes back to, if you remember from Night, when Elliot wanted to, what from Moishe the
Kabbalah.
The Kabbalah, which was Judaic mysticism. Every religion has a version of mysticism. Mysticism is this idea that we're looking for a way to explain our role in society and life with God, but it's not necessarily covered by the Bible or the Quran or the Torah or the Tripitaki. Okay?
I remember that from
So, you get lots of examples here. The one that I gave that Adrian might be referring to is, ever lose somebody close to you?
Yes.
What do people tell you?
They live
What?
within you.
They're in a better place now.
What else they tell you?
They live
They're in
within
a
you.
better place
Hold on,
now.
what?
They live within you.
They live within you, what else?
They're in a better place now.
Better place now, God called them, whatever have you, right? I mean, you hear these expressions. The people who tell you this, what do they do?
Nothing.
Nothing, they're making you feel better. Is any of this ever covered in any of the holy books? No. Right? It's not. So, like, the example I gave was I was 11, and I lost my sister who was 3. And people are like, oh, God called her, God chose her to kill. I'm like, well, that makes God a murderer.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I just said it to a priest. I said, so you're telling me God's a murderer. And then, of course, puts the priest on the defensive when they hear an 11-year-old kid attacking. But, I mean, I was just applying the logic that they gave me. And I said, I think that's a bullshit answer. Right? But that's that element that people go out there and they're looking for those answers and they want to understand them. That's religious mysticism. An aspect of it. There are many other aspects of it too as well. So, one of the things that Rumi actually said was, I don't need an imam or a priest to form a relationship with God. Okay? So up until now, all religion was essentially dictated to you by members of the clergy. If you don't know that word, you should. Members of the clergy, these are priests. Whether we call them a priest, a rabbi, or an imam, they're all sort of members of the clergy. There was no sense that you could form your own relationship with God. These ideas live, grow, and eventually become part of the Renaissance, the Reformation. They eventually, you'll actually see, no, you might not. One of the guys that we might see, I don't remember, actually quotes Rumi when he talks about the concepts of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so in a couple hundred years, what happens is that we make this huge switch from feudal systems to ones where we're looking at the individual's role, and that the individual has rights to determine their outcome in the future. And Rumi was hugely a part of this. His ideas of mysticism, as we'll find out in the next presentation, with these whirling dervishes, was that you can connect to God through a meditative state. Now, it's hard to understand meditative states. Maybe you've heard about them via yoga or something else. The nearest sort of Christian example we have is if you've ever watched a person do the rosary. Like a person who's hardcore into it and they're doing one after another prayer, they don't hear you if you say something to them. They're focused, right? They hit a meditative state where the rhythm of the prayer and however they're internalizing it helps them form a relationship with God. Muslims and Buddhists also have prayer beads. Similar exact idea to a rosary, just different prayers. And you'll see very religious people hit this sort of meditative state. But outside of that, we don't have a lot of other examples. Some could argue that, have you ever heard Gregorian chants?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play it for you if I have time. Would be a somewhat example of that. But let's look at whirling dervishes and see where they are. And if nothing else, you always got a cool name for your kid, right?
No.
You name your firstborn Rumi? Sure. Sure.
I was gonna say,
Martin.
like, wish, Sham. Also, like, a huge poet.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Clap, clap, clap.
Shams what?
But Sam's, like, also, like, a really huge poet that Rumi looked up to who inspired him, or did Rumi just come
Shams,
on his
for
own?
correct me if I'm wrong, Shams was a poet, did do some poetry, but he was also essentially a mystic, kind of like, you know, like Moshe, the Beatle, like, wasn't a mystic, but could convey that aspect of it. But
He was a holy man that, part of being a dervish is swearing poverty. So,
But the dervishes weren't created yet, which when Rumi and Shams met and had their relationship.
yes, but he is called the wandering dervish.
He was the wandering dervish, because he went from town to town. He actually did a little bit of sort of like kind of like a bard or a minstrel. Yeah, he did some singing and some other stuff with his poetry, correct?
Well,
As far as you know.
consulting with Rumi.
Okay. Well, that's my understanding.
Okay, because you brought up Shams, and I was like,
Like Shams was the one who spurred Rumi to look at this particular role. Okay? So, Mr. Liddell.
You had them before? No, I've just seen myself do this. So it's like,
I don't know.
just made a promise to myself.
Gotta do the dance.
School, I'm not getting dreads.
You should do the dance.
1956, the government let them have an annual celebration of their faith in the little place. There are about 25 dervishes, and their ages vary from 8 to 89. There are also 40 musicians who play music, and there is a group of 3 men called the Sheikh who teach them how to spin, like dance.
You know how to do it? You know how to
The
do it?
dervishes are all part of the Muslim Mevlevi, founded by Rumi, which is like basically their group, their religious group. And the chief of that group is always from the same family. The full performance is called the Mukabala, and the standing is called the Sama. It's a form of meditation and mystical art. The musicians wear black coats and a white suit and tall hats. And it starts with like one of the older performers saying a prayer, and they're called they basically act as a priest, and they're called the imam. They walk around the area 3 times, and then they all take off their coats, and then they go to the sheikh and kiss his hand, and then they start spinning. And when they're spinning, they take their right hand and point it up to the sky, and their left hand and point it down to the right hand to collect God's grace, and then to spread it across the earth with the left. There are 4 total spins in the whole performance, and all of them represent different praise. For the first spin, they spin about 15 minutes and stop, and wait 3 minutes, and just stand there, like straight, if anyone's dizzy. This first term represents universal intellect, the soul of the universe, the second turn start with the bow towards the sheikh, and they go right back to spinning. This spin is only 8 minutes long, and they take another 3-minute break. It represents the ascension to God. The third is the longest one, being 18 minutes long, and they take another 3-minute break. But the music is also more fast-paced, and like it's more upbeat. And it stands for the annihilation of God, meaning that you lose all of your identity and get absorbed into the presence of God. It also symbolizes the supreme degree of certainty, meaning the state of absolute truth and understanding. On the 4th spin, the sheikh himself spins in the middle of all the others, and it symbolizes the planets in orbit around the sun. And it represents the eternal order being restored.
Annihilation or assimilation? Because like, this annihilation means like destroyed.
I mean, yeah, you're destroying your old self and being reborn into the presence of God.
Can you show us the dance?
Dance for us.
Get extra credit to make a dance.
Dance for us.
Wait, can I do the dance?
Put on the music.
I'm gonna do the dance tomorrow.
The music.
You actually gonna do the dance?
Oh yeah, Paul.
Yeah, let me take off my phone.
Put on the music.
That's why, let's get jiggy with it.
Oh,
Go ahead,
dance, boy.
Come on, let's definitely get jiggy with it.
Red Rider. Dance, boy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This will be you.
You're not putting your hands the right way. Yeah, Faster, faster. 8 minutes. You gotta go for 8 minutes. You slow down. You have to go 8 minutes without stopping. Then you have a 3-minute break.
No, 4.
Hey, your palm is starting to tilt, bro.
Put that palm to God.
Yeah.
Take his grace and spread it across the earth.
All you were doing was just spinning around, having your hand up. Ain't no way.
You gonna show us how it's done?
All you do was this, bro. Alright, Mateo, go do it. All you do was this, bro.
Daniel, you're not doing it right.
And he fast.
While whirling, their arms are held open, and the right arm is directed to the sky,
He got
ready
his
to
arm,
receive
man.
God's blessing. The left hand is turned toward the earth,
How did I not get this?
which leads
Because it's not
downward.
hard.
They revolve from right to left around the heart to embrace all humanity.
Doing this shit for 8 minutes straight? You're telling me you're not gonna get dizzy? Doing that shit for 8 minutes straight?
Yeah, go.
Who wouldn't get dizzy from doing that shit for 8 minutes straight?
Hold on, come here.
Bro, I thought that.
They had a particular type of hat, they had a camel hair.
I thought that was that dude from like Spy Kids. Those like dumb guys. You know, have you seen that movie Spy Kids? It's a lot of shit.
That bigger than one. They were very chicken here.
We're warming up.
Mr. Frost, can you do that? Yo, Daniel, are you laughing?
What's she talking about?
Dude, that's how it's done.
That's just hard, bro. I don't know how to do it.
Remember what Uncle Jesse said, bro? They all talk with no footwork. You really think that's how it's? You look AIs.
If you do it for 10 minutes, bro, that shit's different. I did it for
They lost some shorts.
The guy looks passed out. Look at the guy in the. Yo, he looks like.
They look AI. Like, there's no way. His eyes have to be closed.
Bro, he looks like he's like. Looks like a robot.
Nah, they have to do that with their eyes closed, bro. There's no way.
So, any of you guys ever been to like a hypnotist show? No, have you ever seen it?
No. Bro, that's so easy.
You have?
No, I'm talking about.
Okay.
He's trying to
I know.
talk about how they get busy. The whirling is supposed to.
Oh my God, so
Yeah. Yeah, so what I was going to point out with the hypnotist was that if you ever go to a hypnotist show, one of the tricks that they use is they do they extreme focus with a repetitive concept, okay? And that's how they attempt to try and hypnotize you. So this isn't exactly the same as you're doing it to yourself, right? But it's this idea of entering into meditative trance. Whether it works or not, that's the faith element of religion, you know. So, anyways, whirling dervishes exist. They actually have kind of a weird, fun sort of history, particularly in the Ottoman Empire. They were like assassins. But, anyways, questions or comments? They become assassins. They were kind of like.
Wait, huh?
They got really big really quick, and they were given a lot of attention, and then,
And then they just decided to
they had access to like,
so, like, they was like happy and friendly, and then like they protested.
pretty much, right?
I got chocolate bozeman.
Questions, comments? Where do I find it? Oh, right now, like, so, Rumi died in Turkey, okay? And his son started up, the Whirling Dervishes, and they are still there today.
Can we go to the cap after group?
Yes, in Turkey. Yes, in Turkey.
Huh? 'Cause I thought that's what Chris said when we were outside.
I'm gonna ask that question louder. So, Sufism, which is a philosophy of Islam, it's not a religion, it's like a philosophy, like a school of thought within Islam. And it's Sufi, and it went across both Sunni and Shia. So they were both. Did that answer the question? A what?
Is it like Confucianism? Like
It could be like I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good one in the Catholic Church or some of the Christian churches, like, where it's not necessarily a separate religion, but it's like people all ascribe to this, right? I mean, in some regards, actually, monastic orders are like that, right? So if you look at the Benedictine monks, right? They have a school of thought that they adhere to, and they practice Catholicism that way. Bit different, but, you know, somewhat similar, I'm sure. Okay, so that's what we got there. Next week. Rory.
It's already done.
Aga Khan actually just died yesterday, the day before.
Oh shit.
Now, Aga Khan is a title kind of like the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
There will be another Aga Khan. There's been an Aga Khan since 1200s.
I haven't started, to be honest.
And so there'll be a new Aga Khan, but he did just die. Remember that in Jewish and Muslim tradition, you're supposed to be buried the same day you die. So funerals happen pretty damn quickly. It's not like, you know, Jimmy Carter and you got like a 3-week funeral and you travel across the country. No. Anyways, make note of the fact the Aga Khan just died.
Yeah, and talk about how they're gonna appoint the new one.
And then we got the Reformation and the Council of Trent. Okay? So, this idea of the Reformation, actually comes back in some regards to what we're talking before about Rumi. And this whole idea of, do we as individuals require the church to have a relationship with God? Okay? And that is 100% what the Reformation will be about. Make sure that you understand the difference between the Reformation and the English Reformation. Because the English Reformation will be handled separately, if he ever shows back up, under Henry VIII. So you don't need to cover it per se, but you can include a one-liner that mentions the difference. And the Council of Trent is literally the anti-Reformation. Okay, what other questions do we have? Good. What?
The makeup book thing.
Ah, thank you. So, because there's enough of you, alright, we'll schedule, 2 or 3 sessions that people can come in and attempt to make up the book. Don't waste my time, don't waste your time. If you haven't read the book, don't do it. Okay? Clear? They will be early in the morning, most likely. So like between 7:15 and 8. You fucked up the first time.
Kill yourself.
You gotta figure out how to make it up yourself.
You said like for this it'll be like sometime this week.
Yeah, it'll be a pop quiz this week. Whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday, but it will be this week.
Wait, an additional, like, talking about the book or like an additional one?
Not additional one. Probably.
Wait, what are you talking? What Adrian just asked? You said something about a pop quiz, like on the book, like you're gonna randomly put it on a day or something.
Just like the night there was a quiz on night.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted the boy who harnessed win.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Two.
Oh, when? Why do you use that calculator? One's for math, one's for drafting, cuz? I'm
Alright, so we're all clear on all those things, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, so very quick. There could potentially be a second pop quiz this week.
Makes sense.
On what, the material?
Guys, please explain the similarities and differences between these 3 fuck-ass religions.
Whoa, fuck.
Okay, so we had how many caliphs in the Rashidun Caliphate?
9.
4. Name one. Darling, name one. Name one.
Me.
What? We name the first one. Do we have an order?
Yo, I got one, Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox, Ali.
Who was the first one?
That's a good question.
Tyler, who was the first one?
You said name one.
I got him in order.
No, I want the first one.
Me.
first one.
Yeah.
He's Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr. Who was the second
Abu
one?
Bakr.
Uthman.
Uthman.
No, that's the third one. Umar.
Who was the third one?
Nigga, that's the end.
Uthman. And finally, who was the fourth one? Ali. What do 3 of the 4 caliphs have in common? Not including Abu Bakr.
They're all assassinated.
They were all assassinated.
On bro.
What?
No, only Ali died. Ali died while praying.
And 3 of them, not including Ali, also have something in common. They are not related to Muhammad. And how are they appointed? Which is called a shura. A shura. All right. So Ali gets assassinated, and this gangster has brothers like, I'm taking shit over. What was his name?
We just said his name.
What's
the
Muawiyah. And Muawiyah becomes the first caliph of what caliphate?
The Uba.
Who? Abba?
Yamis.
Yo, we just saying words.
Umayyad, huh?
Spell it for me.
Umayyadads. Yeah, I know.
So we go from the Rashidun Caliphate to the Umayyad Caliphate.
Bro.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So what was some of the things that Muawiyah did? Move the capital from where to where? Damascus. So from Medina to Damascus. What else?
He built a base in the region.
Anyone else?
No, he didn't kill Ali. No, he didn't kill him.
Anybody else? Not exactly.
He fought Ali.
What?
He fought Ali.
Before he became Caleb. What did he do after? He does what? Correct. He implemented hereditary rule. Okay? So, not a descendant of Muhammad, not chosen by Shura, chosen by Muawiyah, his kids.
Bro, like,
Okay?
he'll do it. Yeah. And his kid fought.
So, hereditary rule, move the capital. Anything else? Come on, Rory. Elijah thinks you got something.
We already talked about that. I know. Alright, never mind. He good then.
He doesn't have anything?
Nah, he's straight. He good. He'll get it tomorrow. What was it? What was it?
I thought you had something.
So why'd you ask the question? Well, wait, what's the answer?
Because there is a third one. I'm just trying to remember it.
Oh, bro, what the fuck? What's
Oh my gosh, Joggy was chocolate milk and then
I know, but actually, I never draw it.
Can you say the answer?
Wait, what?
No, I would have.
Wait, what is it?
Fox, what else did he do?
Sure, you got it.
What else did he do? Fox.
Yeah.
Fox, what's the answer?
it's King T'Challa. Oh my gosh. He won big.
He moved it from. Yeah, he moved it from.
It's just he declared himself caliph and the hereditary thing.
Yeah.
Guys. But that was still after. Anyways,
Have a good day.
Wait, what were you looking for?
What was the extra? What were you looking